Nation, John Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm MLB DFS Game Day Playbook Live Show. We're looking at the 11-game main slate over on DraftKings, starting off at 6:35 p.m. Eastern Time here. James, my buddy, how we doing, man?
Happy Wednesday, doing well, ready to get into everything.
A lot to get into, as we mentioned, 11 games here on the main slate. We appreciate you all tuning in with us here today. If you have any questions, comments, feel free to pop them in the chat. James and I here to help you guys out with your lineup construction for today. We'll jump into it, like you said, though. Starting pitching, Ronel Blanco, $9,300. Brian Wu, $9K. Tyler Anderson, $87. Robbie Ray, $86. Jose Berrios, $85. Your top five price starting pitchers. You were the man on the playbook here today, taking a look at some of the ownership based off how you built your playbook. What are your thoughts at starting pitching tonight?
I mean, there's a case to be made for all five. I think Robbie Ray is the clear-cut guy that everyone's going to go to. He has the most strikeout upside of the slate. So Ray at 86 makes the most sense. I think Blanco's fine for tournaments. Wu has had concerns on the road this year, but I think I'm not worried about what Kirby did yesterday and factoring that into what Brian Wu is today. Tyler Anderson has just beaten the luck magician. I don't know what you call him, the luck charm.
Is he Irish? Do we know? Is Anderson an Irish name? Does he have like a leprchaun or a rabbit?
There is clearly something going on, but at 8,700, Toronto bottom 10 in offense against lefties over the last month, so you can get there. And then Berrios, I think there's some appeal there. I mean, so I think there's a case to be made for all five of the guys. I think Ray is the clear number one, though.
Yeah, I wrote up Berrios today over on Sleeper for over fantasy points. Is at 20.5. He's gone over that in two of his last three. Pretty dominant performances in two of those last three games. There, obviously, the Angels are a bottom offense. I do want to go back to our guy Tyler Anderson here, though, because we have obviously kind of crapped on him for most of the year, and like rightfully so. His overall numbers on the season, his ERA sitting at 2.99, but he's got a 4.7 xFIP, a 4.39 FIP, an expected ERA over 4. But his last five starts, xFIP around 3, K per 9 over 10. Like, maybe he has figured something out now, and the pitcher he was is not the pitcher he is. And we need to give him some flowers for making some of those adjustments, because if the second half of the season continues on the way it has been, I mean, he's going to be a dominant starting pitcher, as we would have looked at any guy with a 3 FIP, xFIP, 10K per 9 on the year. So I'm going to give him a little bit more leeway. And as you mentioned, Toronto, a team that's struggling. Robbie Ray is your top rostered pitcher today. No shocker there against Atlanta last night. Kyle Harrison did get hit up a little bit. Still managed to strike out Marcell Ozuna 3 times, but, gave up runs to the bottom of their lineup. So perfectly fine going in that direction. When we did the show this morning, we felt starting pitching kind of dropped off, though, after those top guys. Digging in a little bit deeper, did anybody stand out for you?
Yeah, I mean, things have changed. There's a couple of pitchers that weren't listed yesterday that listed today, or spots that I've gone to. I do have some interest in Will Warren at 7,700, and it's not my favorite play of the day. I also think there is a strong case. Look, he has not looked great. When you look at the numbers here, 8 runs against the Angels, it was in the rain. 4 runs against the Phillies, but like both serviceable in terms of strikeouts. And when you look at Will Warren, 11 ERA, 4 xFIP, he's been largely unlucky with a high strikeout rate. And when you look at all the numbers that Will Warren's, he hasn't been great, but at every level, he's missed bats. And that's the one thing that I think we have to factor in here, because he is facing the worst team in baseball. There has been a consistent thing with Will Warren where he gets strikeouts. He's also been a large ground ball thrower throughout his entire minor league career. That hasn't been on display at the major league level, and you have to assume, like, long term, that's something that when you pitch one way your whole career, like, that's going to continue. Yeah. He's going to get ground ball outs. And he's one of the biggest favorites in all of the main slate to get a win. So plus 105 is where I looked last. I mean, Will Warren plus 105. And obviously that largely has to do
Yeah,
with
Yankees offense.
implied total was 6. At one point, it was over 6 runs today. It's dropped down to 5.8. But it like just goes to show you it's up over 6. That is a massive, massive number. So I like Warren at 77 in tournaments. And there's only one other name I'd mention, and it's a very risky play. And I understand it's a very risky play, but like we're not here like I'm not just trying to squeak across the cash line. I'm trying to win a tournament. It's actually not Bo Brisky either. It's Edward Cabrera, who I really have early on crapped on, and I think it was a little unfair when you look at what his numbers are peripherally. I mean, his ERA is obviously 5.2. His xFIP and Sierra are either under 4 or right at 4. And this is a guy with a massive strikeout rate, 28% strikeout rate. And we've talked about Philadelphia for a long time. They are not hitting the baseball at all. It's a problem. Philadelphia is calling for their managers to do something. They're calling for anybody to. The only difference is there's no Trey Turner today, which obviously suppresses that lineup a little bit.
Yeah.
You will not find, and he's $6,000. I think that's really the key. Like you will rarely find a pitcher with a 28% strikeout rate coming off 12 scoreless innings at $6,000 against a team 24th or worse in every offensive category. Average, OPS, isolated power, WOBA, WRC plus. Last month, Philadelphia 24th or worse in all of those categories against right-handed pitching. So we didn't get to talk about Cabrera because he wasn't listed last night. He's definitely one of my favorite tournament plays tonight. If you're playing multiple lineups, if you're playing large field tournaments, and that's largely because there's so many elite bats tonight. Like everybody is in a good spot. And you just said it. There's not a lot to like outside of the top handful of names. So I'm personally getting to Cabrera in tournaments tonight. It's not a cash game play. It's very, you have to have a pain tolerance worth, playing. But I think Edward Cabrera has a very high ceiling for a $6,000 pitcher.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not going to sit here and argue just because of the recent performances we've talked about with Philadelphia here. And you want to go look at their last 30 days against right-handed pitching. Yeah, all season long, they haven't really been a big strikeout team. Their strikeout rate over the last 30 days is 22%, kind of right in the middle of the pack. 218 batting average, though, a 140 ISO and a 278 WOBA. Definitely numbers. The WOBA is 28th in baseball, third lowest in the league there. So, we've talked a lot about how the Padres have been a really tough team to pitch against, and he went out there and got 7 shutout innings. We were high on Edward Cabrera going into the year. He got hurt. Obviously, he's been inconsistent at times, but definitely starting to look like a good pitcher. And Miami's offense, as frustrating as it's been, they've actually been pretty good lately here. And they're throwing Tyler Phillips, who after his 15 shutout inning stretch is starting to get knocked around himself. So, I definitely don't mind the Edward Cabrera call out also here. Is there anybody else?
I just saw a comment about David Peterson. I'm very on the fence about David Peterson today because obviously Oakland's been an elite offense against lefties. David Peterson I believe he has overthrown Will Warren for the best odds to win. He has a really good outs prop. He has a very solid juiced over strikeout prop today. And Oakland's a really good offense against lefties. So I'm very 50-50 on this. He does not allow fly balls. He does not allow like a lot of home runs at all.
Yeah.
So that would be the only other guy I'd really consider. But it's interesting.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. Again, it's actually kind of surprising. You look up and you see him be 6-1 with a mid-3 ERA. We know he's been a decent strikeout guy. So fine going. We just know, obviously, Oakland has been able to put up some runs. Brent Rooker, who's the cover of our morning show, obviously, a guy that has been hammering lefties. Let's go to catcher. Who's your top catcher of the day?
I think there's a couple spend-ups I'd get to. Either Contreras or other, I think, are both in play. St. Louis is a really interesting stack. Pagan is opening for Cincinnati. Still Carson Spires being the long man. It's still very appealing in Great American, hitting third. William Contreras gets Walker Buehler. Buehler did not pitch well in his rehab, has not pitched well in general, has allowed a lot of home runs. So I'd be okay with both those guys if you want to spend up. I love Seattle today. Cal Raleigh, 4,600, hitting fourth. Another situation, Brisky's going to open. Salmons is going to come in as the long man. We've seen Bo Brisky as a starter in the past. That has not worked.
No.
And then Shea Langoliers as a lefty, he has 8 hits in his last 8 at-bats. So if you want Langoliers at 45, another play. Then some value. I'm on the Mets today. We've talked about the Joey Estes fly ball stuff for a while. I know Alvarez has been bad. I'm fully aware. In a large field tournament, if you're playing multiple lineups, I love the Mets because the Estes fly ball rate is absurd. And he's really been, if you look at all the numbers, he's really just been bailed out by his ballpark. Like there is just not sustainability with what Joey Estes is doing with how much luck has behind his side. So Alvarez, I like El Gary if he's in the lineup. He's been really good against righties. Alejandro Kirk, $3,300. And I think, one punt. No, that's it. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Yeah, I always see Alejandro Kirk at $3,300. Again, if you're not a believer in Anderson, pretty good. We did have the shout out, and I missed the lineup that came out. No Rooker in that lineup for Oakland today. So even better spot for Peterson there. First base, we go. Ohtani's not homered in back-to-back games. You got obviously this matchup against Frankie Montas in Milwaukee. Both Dodgers hitters are in good spots. I think last night we said the only one we wouldn't play at this level was Matt Olson. Has anything changed for you?
I don't necessarily care for Bryce, but I mean, you can obviously do it if you want. He's been better of late, and Cabrera has struggled with lefties a little bit. I think Freeman is probably my favorite guy here. Over 2 home runs per 9 innings against left-handed bats for Frankie Montas. So I really like Freeman in this ballpark. I really like the Dodgers lefties in general. They'll put 3 of the top 5 lefties up against Montas with Freeman, Ohtani, Lux. So if you need value, you get your value from Gavin Lux at second base. Yeah. So and not Gold. Like I'm okay with Goldschmidt you just have to be full stacking Cardinals for me to get there.
Agreed. Because, I mean, you can also play Burleson for way cheaper down here. He's first base outfield eligible, and you can go that stack route. Mid-tier options for us here. Obviously, Berger's got first base, third base eligibility. He's been one of the hottest hitters in baseball. 7 homers in 4 straight games. So if you wanted to go him against Phillips, you certainly can. Mentioned Burleson already. Anybody else for you?
No, it's Jake Berger, and it's Jake Berger with a bullet. This is a spot. Tyler Phillips has, I know it's a small sample, but when you look at the righty splits here, it's insane. 5 home runs in 15 innings, 10 earned runs, 3 home runs per 9 innings for right-handed bats, 45% fly ball rate, 39% hard hit rate. And now you're talking about that guy who has 14. You want to expand it? I know he's hit like all these 14 home runs in his last 26 games overall. Yeah. 14? That's like over a expanded period of time, like the all-time record for.
I think Edwin Encarnacion had like 19 in a month once, and that was like an insane run for him.
But like, why is it gonna stop? Like, it's against a guy giving up a lot of fly balls and a lot of home runs against righties. Like, I have no. Now we're gonna talk about another guy that you compare with. So like, I prefer Berger at third because this other Marlin can only play at first, but I do like Jake Berger 47. I do like Burleson 43, even though he's slowed down quite a bit.
Sure. Value tier. You mentioned another first baseman. Is that Jonah Bride?
Yeah. Well, I mean, why not play the right? I mean, why not? Did I think I'd be ever suggesting Jonah Bride? I never thought I'd be suggesting Jonah Bride, but he's been super consistent since entering this lineup. And again, righties are really what's killing Tyler Phillips. So I think Jonah Bride, $3,100 makes a lot of sense. I was waiting for John Kenzie Noel to be showing up in that Guardians lineup. Now, like, the Tyone splits are worse against lefties, but the power is just absurd. 9 home runs in his first 32 games, almost a 630 slug. $3,300. I love the upside there. So those are probably the two guys I'd get to. I didn't mention Rhys Hoskins. I like Rhys Hoskins, 4,200. I don't think we have a Brewers lineup yet. 900 OPS against righties. I'm in on Buehler. I posted over in the Fantasy Alarm Discord not too long ago that I've added the Brewers as a stack.
I
in
took the
one-field tournaments.
Buehler, every article that I wrote today, I took the Buehler over 2.5 earned runs because it was a boosted payout on, it was a spicy play on Underdog. It was a demon play over on Prize Picks. I'm like, this dude has given up 3 or more earned in 6 of his 8 starts. He had a 5 ERA and 8 AAA outings. Yep. He's just not right. He's not looking good. He did throw 84 pitches, so like they're at least going to have him out there long enough to give up runs too. This isn't going to be like a Dave Roberts 3 innings and you're out because he threw 50 pitches deal. So I'm with you. I like Milwaukee a lot here today, going up against Buehler because we just haven't seen him be good this year. So why wouldn't you?
Agreed.
Second base. Up at the top, obviously, you have Altuve and Lyle. Last night we talked liking some Tampa Bay bats against Ronald Blanco. Luis Garcia's $4,700 been tearing it up. What are your thoughts at top of second base?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much interest here. This is a position I'm prioritizing all the spend downs. I'm okay getting to Brand Lau. I'm okay if you want to pay $4,100 for Polanco in a Seattle stack. He'll only probably hit from his better split in the first, maybe his last at bat, because he's going to get Salmons in the middle of this game. But they did move Polanco up to the 2-hole. Gotta like that at $4,100. Brendan Donovan, $4,000. Again, he's hitting 5th in Seattle or in a St. Louis lineup in Great American. So I like that. But I think this position is littered with value, and that's kind of the direction I want to take at second base. Geloff, 3,400, I think is really interesting. He's been really good lately. Not like the best spot against David Peterson, but Oakland is just so good against left-handed bats. Like something's obviously going to win out, right? So if you're not playing Peterson, you get to Geloff. I've mentioned the Estes stuff. I just don't believe in Joey Estes against left-handed variety batters. I wrote up Jeff McNeil in today's playbook. Against lefties away from Oakland, over 2 home runs per 9 innings. He has a 202 whip, a 6.75 xFIP, and a 54% fly ball rate. So I really like Jeff McNeil, 3,300, hitting 6th this evening. Talked Gavin Lux, 3,200, homered yesterday, has been just tearing. He has the second best OPS on the team over the last month against right-handed pitching.
Yeah.
That includes Betts, Ohtani, so I'm good getting to some Gavin Lux. And Oswaldo is in the lineup tonight for the Yankees. And when I was doing some digging on Oswaldo Cabrera, John, over the last month, 393 average, 1,200 OPS, only behind Aaron Judge on the Yankees. So
we had him plugged in our lineup 2 nights ago, and we were pretty upset when he wasn't in the lineup. So good to have him back.
Yep, hitting 8th tonight. Not exactly the wraparound that's like you want, but I do think that there's merit. I mean, they have a 5.8 run implied total, right?
I was gonna say, sure, like it's not there's 2 guys between him and the big bats and Judge and Soto, but you're playing him to get Judge and Soto in your lineup.
Correct.
So you almost don't even really care, how it works out. You just kind of need the salary savings, and if he happens to be on first, or if he happens to drive somebody in, all the power to it. So.
Correct.
Fully on agreement with you there. Anybody else a second?
No.
Third base we go then. Jose Ramirez, Austin Riley, Alex Bregman, and Chapman are your top 4, up over $5,000. Did you find yourself looking to spend up at third base today, Grande?
You can.
Yep.
You want to play Ramirez? I think that's your play. Bregman's been good.
5 homers over the last 10 for Alex Bregman. He's waking up.
Yeah, I think either of those guys are solid. I prefer the savings on Jake Berger, truthfully, but I mean I think there's obviously a case to play elite players.
Yep. Keith, we did briefly mention, or I did at least, Luis Garcia, but as we said, we weren't really looking to spend up at second base here today. So if you want to plug him in, you certainly can do.
He's great. He's great.
Yeah.
If you want to play him, he's been great. I mean, Washington Dean Kramer has not been great. So if you want to play Washington, it's a fine play.
Yep. Caminero, would you play him at 3,100?
I'm not against it. I kind of thought that this would be the case where he'd hit in the middle of the lineup, but now you have Lau, Lowe, Caminero, 2, 4, 5. So that's where the Ronel Blanco struggles have been, lefty bats, and you have three guys who can hit a home run in those three players. So yeah, I'm okay with Caminero. I like the dual position eligibility as well. I would throw Arenado, Vientos, Dylan Moore into the mix too as players that I have mild interest in, more because we're going to get the Salmons matchup for multiple at bats. Vientos because just power against a fly ball pitcher I like. So I would throw those guys into that equation as well.
Okay. Any other values at third that you have any interest in?
No.
Okay. Shortstop. Ellie's your top price at $6,300. You have Mookie Betts against Montas. You mentioned, liking the lefties there against Frankie Montas. But you do get Betts at 62. Gunnar Abrams. I've seen some hype around Abrams today over on the X machine. Not sure your feelings on him against Dean Kramer. And Lindor round out the 5K tier.
Yeah, I think this is a very strong position top to bottom. Ellie's gets the better split for him in his ballpark against Kyle Gibson, who struggles with lefties, right? So that's a dream scenario for Ellie De La Cruz. You can always play Mookie Betts. This is obviously a tougher spot for righties than it is lefties. You can always play him. Gunnar is fine. I'm not as high on Baltimore as I was last night. DJ Hurst, a lot of swing and miss stuff. So, Abrams is good. I mean, Dean Kramer has not been great, right?
Yeah.
I think 5,600 is a little too expensive when I can play someone like Lindor, who I've been saying all show. I think the lefties from the Mets are in an elite spot with like all the home run upside against Joey Estes. And when you can play Adames against a righty at home, that has literally been dream scenario. He has like a 1,300 OPS over his last month against that split at home against a righty. So I'm good with Abrams. I would say you're not playing like a one-off Abrams because I feel like as a one-off, you get more upside from Lindor because we've seen multiple home run double dongs.
You have double dong upside from everybody. It's not saying Abrams can't, but the odds of a 2 home run game way greater for any of the other guys, probably 4,500 and up. From that.
Yeah,
point.
He has none. He has no. I mean, again, he's going to be 25, 30 probably by year's end. You're like, oh, great year. But I just think for cheaper, Lindor has greater upside. For cheaper, Adames has greater upside. And obviously, Ellie has as much upside as anybody else.
Yeah, no arguments from me. Going Xavier Edwards here?
You can.
If you're playing Miami, right? Wouldn't you?
Yeah, Marlins are fine. Yeah, I mean, dude, the Marlins are fine today. And Edwards is running every time he gets on. So and possibly twice on the same base truck. So perfectly fine getting Edwards.
Where's your value shortstop today?
Volpe 39 has been way better against right-handed pitchers, so I'm interested there. Mentioned Dylan Moore and Caminero already at third. You can play either of those guys. I don't have much else love for the position.
Yeah,
always play Clement.
I'd say Ernie's there. You can play Ernie if you want. Outfield we go then. Kind of pick your stack and build around the top guy here.
Yeah, I mean, I do think the top guys are the 3 top guys. I think those 3 are the top dogs. That is why I'm kind of high on Edward Cabrera, right? Or kind of high on spending down at second base. To prioritize a guy who hit 3 home runs yesterday and 2 home runs the other day, and to prioritize a guy who is having statistically a better year than a year that he hit 62 home runs in. That is statistically better than that year. And then also the NL MVP by, I think it was minus.
He was minus 1,100 the last I saw.
Yeah. And then he homered the last 3 days or whatever. And it's those odds have only infinitely grown. So I think yes to what you're saying, but I also think those 3 are there's a tier and they're on it by themselves. Like, I'm good. Jordan's great.
I said, no, listen, don't throw shade on Jordan here. 400 to 1,500 OPS over the last 10. He can
Great.
hang. He
Great.
can hang with them.
I think that there's no necessarily like a ballpark that can hold Jordan. The game environment is not great.
Sure.
He's been better against lefties, which is weird to say. Again, not slighting Jordan at all. I just think the other three are better. Santander, I like a little bit more than Jordan for a little bit cheaper.
Talk to me about your cover player today.
Yeah, so I like Seattle. I am high on Seattle as a whole. And when you look at Seattle, they obviously get Brisky to start. Brisky struggled as a starter his whole career, including small sample this year. I think we've talked about this a lot when it comes to Seattle on the road. And you can, if you want to nitpick at like the numbers for Rosarena because he didn't play in Seattle this whole year, Tampa Bay is obviously not a good hitting environment. Away from the Trop this year against left-handed pitching, or just the Trop plus Seattle, 600 slug, 1,000 OPS, 286 ISO, 428 WOBA for Randy Rosarena. He's been great against lefties. He's been great against lefties on the road. He's also just been good away from his home ballparks, like Seattle has in general. And again, Brisky, not very good. Brian Sammons, not very good. I like both Rosarena. I like Julio Rodriguez for $100 more. But I am kind of like pushing the chips in on Seattle today more as the day has gone on. I mean, Sammons is a 29-year-old that almost quit baseball and then has been fine-ish, but at every level, he has given up a lot of power to right-handed pitchers. He throws a low 90s fastball. So I'm very high on Seattle. Not as my top stack, but if you're just looking to be contrarian, we know the Yankees are going to be popular. We know the Dodgers are going to be popular. We know the Orioles are going to be popular. Like those are the Cardinals in Great American. Like that's no one's surprised by that. But I do think Seattle is the best alt stack on the board. If you're just looking, you don't even have to full stack them. You can play a Rosarena as a one-off. Robles is leading off. There's plenty of routes you can take with this team. But a Rosarena, Cal Raleigh are like two of my biggest focuses on Seattle.
Yeah, we're going down into the mid-tier. Talk to me about some of the favorite building blocks to start some lineups.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned how bad Kramer's been. So if you want to play James Wood, 4,800, that's in play. Brendan Nimmo, $4,700, I think is incredibly interesting. TJ Friedel, 44. Obviously, the Kyle Gibson splits are better for lefties. So Friedel's been better of late. And Duhar, if you were interested in playing Oakland. Brendan Donovan, we mentioned. Look, Kerry Carpenter came back and just hit 2 home runs and had 3 hits. It's like he never left. If you are reading into the Brian Wu / rest of staff road numbers, then there is a little bit of intrigue in Detroit because they are so lefty heavy in this lineup. So Carpenter at 4,000, I think, is a little bit interesting to me as well.
Okay. I like a lot of the mid-tier guys we've discussed already. I don't mind some of the Cubs here against Cobb. Cobb didn't look that great. And you have Happ kind of leading off. You have Say up there. Burleson, we've talked about. Chorio against Walker Buehler, liking Milwaukee already. So I'm full on with you. I think there's a lot of good 4K tier here. Anthony wants to know, is Cabrera too risky against Philly? Anthony, I know you're a Phillies fan, but no, we are okay using Cabrera tonight over on DraftKings as a value play. And Troy wants to know, we're building a lineup. We do a lineup at the end of the show, right after the outfield. So just hang with us. You'll catch it in a moment. My value plays here, Grande. Where are you looking to lock in?
Value plays just under 4,000. I mean, Josh Lowe is a little bit interesting hitting fourth. Again, Bernal Blanco against lefties has been the Achilles heel. Victor Robles leading off with his shiny new contract, 3,500. I really, really like Jesse Winker. I was wondering if he was going to hit third tonight. They're hitting him fourth with JD back in the lineup. he's been good. There hasn't been a lot of power lately, but he's been really good just hitting baseballs. And
Yeah.
again, I've said it all show. Lefty power against Joey Estes is the play. Eloy Jimenez is one Oriole that I'm highly interested in, 3,500. He's hitting 480 since joining the Orioles. That's in the last 9 games, he's hitting 480. So I like Eloy. Obviously, we've talked about it a couple of times, just the motivation of being on a team, not the worst team ever versus what the Orioles are, which is trying to win a pennant.
Right.
So I have some interest there. Mention John Kenzie Noel here. That's in play. Jesus Sanchez, 3,300. There's always power upside.
Yeah.
Garrett Mitchell.
Sanchez homer yesterday. Garrett Mitchell is pretty good price point, 3,200. We haven't gotten a Brewers lineup, right?
No, haven't gotten a Brewers lineup yet. 900 OPS over his last month against righties. PCA, P. Crow Armstrong is in play. Daz Cameron, if you're interested in playing guys against David Peterson, he's a power bat as well.
Okay, you got Will Brennan second tonight at 2,800 if you're not in on Tyon there.
Slater's leading off. Slater's leading off at 2,200. It's just such a. It's one of those plays we know that if they throw a righty,
he's not even hitting lefties well this year. So
he's going to get pinch hit for. He's going to get pinch hit for at some point in this game. So I'm probably staying away from Slater at 2,200.
Okay. Let's get to that aforementioned lineup build here. We did have a question from IC3U asking about Grant Holmes here. Any thoughts?
I'm not against Grant Holmes because he's another one of those pitchers that falls into that equation of misses a lot of bats. And San Francisco's offense is what it is. I don't love it. They do throw a lot of lefties at you. They are a very mix and match team. I'm fine with it. The home run ball shouldn't bite him here, just considering the ballpark. I mean, that's hurt him 3 straight games. But Holmes is fine.
Anthony wants to know, do we still like Ray and Wu? We do. Probably gonna use one of them in a lineup right now.
More Ray than Wu, but yeah.
Ray it is. Do you go down to Edward Cabrera here?
I have stated my case on Edward Cabrera.
Okay. Give me what's our number one spend then today?
I mean, I personally think it's Judge or Soto. I think the field is going to probably gravitate to Soto after hitting 3 home runs. It's how recency bias usually works. So I would probably lean Judge if we can afford it.
Okay. We do Judge and Berger.
Yeah. Spend down at second base. It's, I think, a clear cut position.
Yeah, I go Lux down here.
Yeah. Yep.
32. Catcher, you like? Can we get Raleigh up here? 46.
I think the way we do it is either you punt with Jonah Bride at first and pair him with the Berger man, or you punt with you play Berger at first and you play Oswaldo to get more Yankees exposure. It's one of the two. Oswaldo's obviously cheaper.
Are you keeping Lux at second, or just?
I was gonna keep Lux, but I mean that's because I if you're playing Raleigh, I want to play the Rosarena Raleigh 3-4.
Okay. So let's go Berger here. Oswaldo.
That's JD Martinez.
What'd you say?
You have JD Martinez at first.
Was he right next to him? Where's Berger? There we go. 47. Raleigh. Randy. All right, so 42.50 for a shortstop and an outfielder.
I mean, there's.
Do we do Edwards to pair up? Or do you do a one-off with Door?
Volpe, or we spend all the way down to Caminero as a one-off.
If you did a one-off Caminero, I guess is 54. 54 would be J-Rod. you like J-Rod tonight?
Mm-hmm.
I know you mentioned liking all of them, so
3, 4, 5, Seattle. Yeah.
There you go. $400 left over. Ray, Cabrera, Raleigh, Berger, Lux, Cabrera, Caminero, Judge, Rosarena, and Rodriguez doing a little Seattle stack here. Getting Aaron Judge in your lineups tonight and getting Robbie Reyes, our spend up pitcher. Playbook is out. If you have any questions, you can go check that out. Get us in the Discord. Find us on Twitter. No live show tomorrow with the short slate in the evening. We'll have the preview show for everybody out in the morning, and we'll be back live on Friday. Catch us there. We'll see you later.